Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're plunging into, well, one of the most searching and frankly unsettling observations in all of our source material.
It's a heavy one for sure.
Yeah, it's a statement that really gets at the depth of divine knowledge. We're looking at a single sentence from the prophet Hosea.
Spoken on behalf of God.
Exactly, and it is this: "In the house of Israel I have seen a horrible thing."
It's a declaration of profound grief,
Right.
not just simple judgment.
Right.
And so for anyone listening, our deep dive today, it really has two missions. First, we need to understand the scope of God's sight. What is it that he sees that we can't?
And second.
And second, we have to identify the precise nature of this horrible thing. What caused such an intense and, as we'll see, long-observed grief?
Okay, let's unpack that.
Mm-hmm.
I think we have to start with the fundamental nature of divine sight.
Mm-hmm.
The narrative emphasizes that while God is invisible to us, nothing is opaque to him. His vision just transcends all human limits.
That's the critical distinction.
How so?
Well, it's not just knowing a list of facts about the universe. It's not theoretical omniscience.
It's active.
It's active, penetrating observation. The sources confirm God sees not only our actions, what we do in public, but also our motives.
But our private devotion.
Or, more damningly, the lack of it. His knowledge is total. He sees the whole internal landscape.
So if we accept that premise, then the declaration in Hosea, it becomes terrifyingly specific.
Exactly. He isn't just making a philosophical point. He's stating a hard, devastating fact about what he has personally witnessed.
And what he saw wasn't a sudden discovery.
No.
The source material notes this was a long-observed grief. He'd been watching this unfold over time.
Which almost makes it worse.
It does. So let's transition to the offense itself. What was Israel doing that warranted a term like horrible thing?
The sources give us the context right away in the very next phrase.
Which is?
Ephraim practices prostitution and that Israel is defiled.
And Ephraim here stands for the northern kingdom of Israel.
That's right. So the key insight here is that the horrible thing, it wasn't general moral decay, though that was certainly there. It was specifically spiritual unfaithfulness.
Which God frames as what?
Covenant betrayal. Adultery.
That's such powerful terminology. Using prostitution to describe their spiritual condition, it elevates this from just a broken rule to a broken relationship.
It does, because the covenant relationship was fundamentally a spiritual marriage.
Right.
Israel was chosen, loved, redeemed from slavery. God wasn't just their king, he was their husband.
Bound by a sacred vow.
A vow established way back with Abraham and then ratified on Sinai. So when they turned away, they were breaking the most intimate binding promise imaginable.
So it was a true abandonment of the heart. What did this spiritual prostitution actually look like on the grounds? Was it just, putting up statues?
It was a multifaceted betrayal, which is why the term fits so well.
Yeah.
It meant worshiping Baal, the local fertility guards.
Which often involved these transactional rituals.
Oh, exactly. Trading the secure love of God for temporary earthly promises. But it was also political.
How so?
It was political prostitution. Trusting in foreign alliances, relying on Egypt or Assyria for protection, instead of resting in God's strength. They were constantly looking outward.
Instead of inward to their covenant keeper. The compromise was systemic.
Completely. And what made the betrayal especially horrible, as the text says, is the context. This wasn't committed by outsiders.
No, it was in the house of Israel.
Exactly. Among his own people.
Yeah.
The source of the betrayal was the very place where God intended his faithfulness to be treasured. I mean, that makes it incredibly painful.
Okay, so this is where it gets really interesting, because we have to think about it from the people's perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Israel might have genuinely believed that God didn't see the full scope of their compromise.
Right, because they were still going through the motions.
They were.
Yeah.
Our sources confirm they were still offering sacrifices, keeping the major festivals.
Yeah.
Outwardly, they kept up this veneer of faithfulness.
And that illusion of hidden compromise is the core vulnerability that's being exposed here.
Because God can't be deceived.
Never.
Yeah.
The rituals continued, but he saw the true condition behind the ceremonies. He witnessed the divided hearts, the wandering loyalties.
The hidden compromises.
All the things they tried so desperately to conceal. They were living in this constant state of spiritual contradiction.
And the terrifying part is that what they whispered in their hearts, God shouted from the mountaintop, "I have seen it."
Yeah.
When we connect this truth to our modern world, that has to be deeply sobering for you, the listener.
It is.
Because, like ancient Israel, we might assume God only registers our actions in the holy places.
At church or during public prayer or when we know other people are watching, that's the psychological trap. It's maintaining a dual life.
We put on this face of spiritual reverence in public.
But the source material forces us to confront our private conduct, the things that often contradict that public confession.
Can you give us a few examples of what that contradiction looks like today, based on this ancient text?
Sure. It's the integrity gap. You might be, say, outwardly generous and kind, but at home, you're impatient, harsh, or cold to the people closest to you.
Or at work.
Or at work. You have this veneer of honesty, but you're actually prideful, self-serving, maybe even dishonest when nobody's checking the books.
And what about in solitude? You know, in those quiet moments when it's just you.
That's where the private idolatry really takes root. Indulging thoughts, habits, desires that fundamentally contradict your confession of faith.
So the danger isn't that God might see those secret compromises.
No, he always does. The real danger is that we grow comfortable living as though he doesn't. We just let that spiritual distance become normal.
Okay, so if this is the essence of their deceit, how do we process this declaration of judgment without just feeling completely condemned? What's God's motive here?
That's the crucial shift in perspective we have to make.
Okay.
The declaration, "I have seen a horrible thing," isn't merely an announcement of punishment. We have to see it through the lens of love. His grief reveals his relational commitment.
It's because he's a faithful husband that he's so wounded.
Exactly. Only a faithful husband is wounded that deeply by betrayal. So his words are intended to awaken Israel, not just to destroy her.
So the whole book of Hosea, it's really a call to repentance.
Yes. Rooted in this painful love, not an announcement of permanent abandonment. It's a wake-up call.
Driven by a wounded but undying commitment.
Absolutely. God is saying, I know exactly what you're doing, and it breaks my heart. Turn back before it's too late.
That framework of being seen by God as an act of painful love, it sets up this fascinating contrast with another kind of seeing in Scripture.
Yes, one that offers comfort instead of condemnation.
We're transitioning from Hosea's judgment in the Old Testament to the Gospel of John.
This is where the story of Nathanael becomes so illuminating. Jesus is just gathering his followers, and when Nathanael approaches, Jesus says something really extraordinary to him.
He says, "Behold, an Israelite indeed, in whom there is no deceit."
And Nathanael is completely surprised, but notice, he isn't terrified or exposed like Israel was.
No, he's just confused. He asks, "How do you know me?"
And Jesus answers, "Before Philip called you, when you were under the fig tree, I saw you."
That detail of the fig tree, it feels so specific. Why is that key?
Well, in that culture, sitting under a fig tree was a common solitary practice for meditation, prayer, study of the scriptures.
So Nathanael wasn't just relaxing.
Probably not. He was likely engaged in private devotion. So for Jesus to mention this specific private moment of sincerity, it affirms two things at once.
Which are?
First, it proves the penetration of his divine sight. He saw him in that solitary, unobserved moment.
And second,
and far more important, it affirmed the quality of what he saw. The moment of private devotion matched the public confession. Jesus immediately confirmed his integrity, in whom there is no deceit.
this is the perfect counterpoint to Hosea.
It really is.
Both Israel and Nathanael were seen by the exact same, all-seeing God, but the outcomes were polar opposites.
And the difference lies entirely in the condition of the heart that was being observed. When seen, Israel was exposed for deceit and unfaithfulness. They were trying to hide their compromise, and that led to terror.
But when Nathanael was seen,
when he was seen in his private, sincere devotion, he was affirmed for sincerity and integrity, and that led to, overwhelming comfort and realization.
So God's sight is constant. It's immutable. It's always there. The determining factor is our response to it.
It's the integrity of the heart. The terrifying thing for Israel was that their private reality contradicted their public claim.
But Nathanael was living a life where the quiet, unobserved moments were aligned with his identity.
Exactly. When he was seen, he wasn't caught out. He was validated.
That really connects the dots between the heavy condemnation of Hosea and the comfort of John.
He does.
And it raises a very serious, deeply personal question for you, the listener, as we wrap up this deep dive.
We have to hold up the mirror of both Hosea and Nathanael. When God looks into the house of your life, not the public performance, but the hidden sanctuary, what does he see?
Does he see a heart defined by divided devotion, secret idols, and quiet compromise?
Or does he see a heart that, though it's imperfect and it stumbles, is fundamentally honest and surrendered? like Nathaniel's.
Our sources suggest that the ultimate goal isn't to try and hide. That's impossible anyway. But to walk in the light.
To cultivate integrity in those unobserved spaces, so that God doesn't have to say again, I have seen a horrible thing.
Instead, you strive for the reality of Nathaniel.
Love God with an undivided heart so that your private life actually aligns with your confession.
And that leaves us with a final provocative thought to internalize.
Mm-hmm.
Live in such a way that being seen by God is not a source of fear or exposure, but that it's your greatest comfort, your deepest affirmation.
So that by grace it may truly be said of you that you are God's people in whom there is no deceit.
A profound challenge.
It is. A challenge to carry into the rest of your week.
Thank you for diving deep with us. We'll see you next time.